Yves Tumor, Safe in the Hands of Love. I didn't know anything about this artist. I had no clue who this was going into this record. It just kind of came out of the blue on Warp Records. It got a fucking 9 out of 10 from Pitchfork, and everyone's praising it and saying it's incredible. Blah, 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 blah. I just kind of listened to it just on a whim. Oh, fuck, okay, who's this person? Let's see what all the hype is about. And here we are, Safe in the Hands of Love. Cool, cool. Let's just get in the preamble shit out of the way so I can talk about this fucking album. So yeah, no expectations going in except people were saying it's good, so I was like, okay, I hope it's good, and guess what? It's fucking so good. I think this is incredible. I'm a big fan of this. Yeah, this is wonderful. This album's pretty beautiful. It's quite stirring. And, yeah, I kind of have a bit of a theory on what I think this album is about. I interpret this album to sort of be a concept about love and the brutality that comes in the lingering fear that you may never find it in a world filled with loads of harsh brutalism, and it's just like, okay, this is the only method of escape we have from the sort of crushing world that is the world we live in. And love is the only place where we feel safe, you know, hence the title, you know, so I figured that's kind of what this album's general theme is. Maybe. Could be reaching like crazy, but whatever, regardless, the intro track on this album is 1 minute, it's like 33 seconds long, and it features this rough, somewhat muffled sample of these blaring horns. It sounds incredibly triumphant. It sounds like the sort of soundtrack to a grand opening of some huge event or something, and it really sets the stage in a purposely very dramatic way, almost to the point where there's sort of an underlying melancholy to it. The following track, Economy of Freedom. This track. Oh, okay, so yeah, as of right now, in my opinion, Economy of Freedom by Yves Tumor is the best song of 2018, motherfucker. Oh, this track is absolutely transcendent. It sounds like you're being brutally phase shifted into whatever dimension that thing on the cover lives in. And it's a dimension filled with nothing but pure violence, destruction, and chaos. The way vocals are buried beneath these harsh blasts of just distorted noise during the opening few minutes is chilling and haunting and stirring. These vocals, they sound like cries for help just being buried by senseless horror. The desperate lyrics on this track that are conveying this idea of just sorrowfully crying out for just someone to stick beside them. You know, it really sounds like they truly feel love is the only answer, is the only method of escape from the brutality of the world. And I think Yves perceives the world in his lyrics through a pretty tortured lens at points on this album. Like, Safe in the Hands of Love is really an appropriate title for how I perceive this record. You know, it really does feel like when Yves performs these tracks that he truly only ever doesn't feel alone and vulnerable to everything when he is in the comfort of another person. The track Honesty has a really thick, harrowing underlying synth sub-bass that just lurks throughout the track really ominously, gives it a real sense of dread. There's a seriously discomforting atmosphere to the song, and it's perfectly accentuated by the lyrics from Yves that are sort of, he seems to really be unsure. He truly doesn't know whether or not he fully knows his partner, it seems, and he's just yearning for honesty in this relationship. And despite knowing that that honesty may not be there at all, he's acknowledging that he simply just can't live without this person, and it's sort of conflicting him, and he sounds really damaged on this song. And his performance just sells it so well. Like, okay, you know what? We need to. I've seen so many fucking people shit on the vocals, saying the vocals are annoying and all this and that. Fuck you. They may take a second to get used to, okay, sure, but like, I think these are some of the most emotive and chilling performances I have heard on a record in 2018. I think they perfectly convey, for the most part, exactly what the writing is capturing. Licking an Orchid is a perfect example of this. I think Yves' voice sounds really uncertain and scared on this track. He's calling out for his partner to come closer to him on the song, stating that his love is just so strong that it's absolutely impossible that anyone else would be able to share the same level of affection that he would. And even if being with this person is to cause him pain and distress, he just doesn't care. And he's still just calling out, since his adoration for this person is just that intense, and his performance sells every syllable. I think the wounded guitar line that kind of loops throughout the song also really reflects this essence of just longing, despair that Yves is so vividly expressing on this track. And it becomes all the more depressing when we hear another voice come in later on, a female voice responding to Yves, saying how scared and conflicted she is about, you know, staying with him, because she's worried that if she does, her child will be raised in a very toxic and brutal world that would just not be beneficial for either. As the song goes on, it becomes more and more evident that whatever hope there was left for this relationship is just slowly falling apart by the second. And I think the bleak, melancholic atmosphere of the instrumentation on this album just so brilliantly just enhances these really dark tones. And this dark abyss of emotional torment only continues on the next track, Lifetime, where on this track it seems like Yves is just longing to relive the days of the past. He has lines like, I miss my brothers and I miss Biscayne, and just sort of calling back to when life was less torturous and hellish. I think the title of the track, just Lifetime, is just chillingly blunt given the subject matter as well. It's easily the most jaw-dropping song on the album in regards to its musical construction. The instrumentation on this track is really stunning. The frenetic drum loop on this track just keeps the song moving at a really brisk, engaging pace, and I love the how it's followed by these just lush piano chords and these awe-inspiringly effervescent fucking string sections that just sound absolutely incredible. They progress the song into a climax that leaves me completely breathless every time. This track is musically phenomenal. I think the song Hope in Suffering, however, is a lot more, just tonally it's a lot bleaker and more crushing. This track is a really disquieting depiction of the hopelessness that comes in having to witness the horrors of racism on a day-to-day basis, from the wall of muffled, distorted static that just plagues this track so eerily, and the looped violin that sounds unbelievably unnerving. It just sounds like pure sorrow. And the spoken word lyrics depicting like castrating skin, fucking holes into your eyes, radiant breath being augmented and cracked open, wearing skin as batter. Like, the imagery is so vivid and dark on this track, and it just presents the idea to me of just people being taken advantage of and warped to fit a certain image, and it's sort of just depicting kind of racism and just fascism and shit like that in a really bleak way. And the increasing distortion on Yves' voice, as well as the implementation of what sounds like gunfire in the background, just make this one of the most unnervingly and unsettlingly dark and heart-wrenching things I've listened to all year. A really crushing track. Just the vivid world of terror and bleak anguish that this album manages to create is just so thick and despondent that I can't turn away from it when I hear this album. I think it immerses you so vividly, to the point where I fucking forget that I'm real. I forget that I'm in the real world, because I'm just so wrapped up in the world of this album. I think it's such an enveloping listen. The guitar loop on the track Recognizing the Enemy is utterly haunting, and then Yves is delivering some of the most painfully dark lyrics on this track too. He's struggling to cope with the fact that the person he loves just isn't interested in him anymore, and as a result he's just caught in this mental prison to the point where he can't even recognize himself. He's unsure of what he did wrong. He's just trying to sort of fight this, and the fact that he no longer has the ability to be there for this person like he used to is causing himself to sort of view who he is in just this really distorted way, and it's just kind of eating him alive on this track. And when the drums come in and the instrumentation sort of fills the song and just erupts, it's sort of like the musical equivalent to like his internal breakdown in the song. Just like, imagine his head is just like a Jenga tower, and legit, like, after one brick is removed, it all falls instantly. It's just, that's sort of how it feels. Like, everything is just colliding in his head at this point, and it's just unbelievably evocative to listen to. The final track on the album is the most explosive though, as it features these incessant crashing cymbals that are so fucking unrelenting the entire song, and they just grow and grow as the song progresses. It is just fucking, it's provocative. I love it. It makes for a genuinely really startling and memorable finish to the album. Lyrically, I perceive this track to sort of be about dealing with the fact that you don't need to be in this person's life in order to achieve happiness. Like, he's acknowledging that, but Yves' love is just so strong that he has no option but to just give into it and just keep trying, because that's the only place where he feels at ease. My only gripes with this record come in the tracks Noid and All the Love We Have Now. Noid is the only track where I think the vocals are a little bit frustrating, not necessarily because they sound over the top or annoying or anything, but it's because I don't really think he accurately matches the tone I get from the lyrics, because on this song he's like crying for help, scared to show his face anywhere, he's calling out to his family, like, does anyone else feel this fear? Just the increasing number of acts of terrorism and racism, it's just kind of getting to him on this track in a really vivid way. But I'm not really sure if his performance really presents the same petrified character we're hearing in the lyrics. Like, his performance just doesn't really match that tone at all to me, and ultimately it just feels a little bit awkward. The instrumental too, it features these really lovely samples and some wonderful drumming, but again, I'm not really too sure if it aligns that well with what's happening lyrically. I think there's a bit of an uncomfortable conflict on this track that didn't really work that much for me, but still, it's a nice sounding song, and the production is solid here. But the song All the Love We Have Now, this track strikes me as the one moment of hope on the album where he sort of just embraced love and feels safe from everything. But musically, the mix feels a little bit too busy on this track. I feel like this song does not manage to build a resonant atmosphere in the same way a lot of the other cuts do, and it ends up just not sticking out as much in my opinion. But overall, this is a stunningly beautiful album. The cover, I think, is also a reflection of what I feel the album's about, because you can't really fully make out what it is on the cover. It's kind of blurry. And what is being presented to us in this cover is like something, it's just whatever the hell this thing is. It's really alluring, but it's frightening. And I feel like that's a nice depiction of love. I think it accurately reflects the fear that can come in committing yourself to someone or something like that. And I still, whatever though, because I'm fucking floored by this album. I think it's magnificent. I'm feeling a 9. I hope you listen to it. Please do. It's like the best. And yeah, that's my review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.